Who would have thought the national government of all parties, national, supposedly the more conservative government, who would have thought that they'd be the ones who would be the governmental party that would be talking about introducing or at least debating taxing churches? You know, it would not surprise me if the Liberal Labour Party had, or the Greens had brought it up, but no, it was sadly our Prime Minister, Mr. Luxon. Of course, the key phrase the media pursuing with a vengeance is, should the advancement of religion be a charitable activity? And this is one of the four categories that distinguish a charity that the government is looking at, seemingly ignoring the other three categories, which to me a lot sounds more dodgy. The so-called charities come under things like the Rainbow Youth and I guess, what has now become a religion. What about the Helen Clark Foundation and Greenpeace being allowed their charity status, yet Family First lost theirs in court when they clearly come under the advancement of education category? And this phrase, the advancement of religion, the phrase that the media seem to be obsessed with, is true that this is the main thrust of the church. Of course, that is not the only thing that a church does, yet it is the number one reason we all exist, to further the gospel, the good news of Jesus Christ. Why? Because it changes lives. And we're not ashamed or embarrassed about that. Interestingly, Christianity, being the predominantly religion in the West, was once recognized by the government and local government for the good that it does for society. All Western nations had Christian values and morals, hence we saw the West prosper. I will not digress, but take a look at the front page of the paper today and ask yourself, what has made the difference today to bring about all the horrendous headlines? Well, for one, of course, they took the Bible out of schools, prayer in the name of Jesus out of Parliament. The list goes on. And so now in our liberal, progressive, godless society, we've removed our foundations. So in times past, Christianity churches were known, seen and valued for helping people become better people by the powerful work of the gospel, changing people to become law-abiding citizens. Councils would even give land to churches, recognizing the presence of churches make it for better societies. It's still true today. Knowing that churches do not make a profit, unlike businesses, the local council allowed churches to be rate exempt, which now our mayor in Auckland wants to change. But councils and mayors of yesterday understood that churches poured back into the community while taking nothing out. Before you say it, I know there have been some charlatans. Yes, sadly, there's been some rotten apples in the box from time to time. And without making excuses, it ought not to be that way, but every sector of society, be it among lawyers, school teachers, etc., there's always a few that sadly spoil it for the rest. But that should not take away from all the good lawyers, all the good school teachers, and in this case, all the good churches, good pastors, and good Christians. Interestingly, the media, in harassing the government about this, they constantly bring up churches. Have you heard them bring up mosques or iwis? No, it's churches. The media is so funny and biased. They were talking about India, and due to the Hindu-believing Prime Minister there, how the radical Hindu fanatics are attacking minor religions and population of the Muslims. There's no mention of the horrendous attack on Christians and churches that are happening over there, of which I have first-hand knowledge. A City Impact Church has over 60 campuses in India, along with 2 children's homes. The media, who are supposed to be news reporters, not newsmakers, see themselves and appoint themselves as the so-called watchdog, the police of society. Who made them that? Themselves. No wonder we're seeing the demise of the liberal media. People have had enough. They think they're there to keep everyone honest, yet in doing so, they've corrupted themselves. But I digress. And can I just also mention in relation to the media, which makes me smile, in every conversation I've heard about taxing churches, there's only one church they want to bring up: Destiny.
Brian Tamaki says that if that happens, he'll send a big bill for all the things that his church does for free. What's your response to that?
Send a bill, Brian says. Nicola Willis replied, that is not very Christian of them. Hello, do you know how many charities get government funding from the government? Churches such as the Sallys, and God bless them, where Destiny gets zipped for all they do. Again, the media go on about them.
Supportive of Brian Tamaki and I guess his way of Christianity. Why does his church get to not pay taxes or rates?
How small-minded and how short-sighted. Churches like Destiny and ourselves are such small fry compared to the Roman Catholic Church, the Anglican Church, the Presbyterian Methodist, etc., all who own millions of dollars worth of property, having been around obviously a lot longer in New Zealand and gaining a lot more property in the earlier days. And good on them, by the way. I'm not complaining about that, I'm just saying. It may be true that churches like ours see more people out on a Sunday in our larger campuses, but we need to remember that the church is about God and people, not God and buildings. Although, can I add that the buildings are a facility to facilitate what we do? So why doesn't the media ask about the Catholic Church or the Presbyterian Church or whatever? No, it's just about Destiny. And of course, the Salvation Army, God bless them, who do a great job. I am sure that most would not want them to be taxed. Yet they too further religion. And again, I'm sure that they'd be the first to admit that they are not the only ones that feed the hungry and help the poor. I again can only speak for ourselves and certainly not blowing our own trumpet, but endeavouring to help people see past the media bias. We literally give away thousands of meals a year, hundreds every week. Every year, over 10,000 blankets and pajamas to needy families. Our community days have helped hundreds of families in need, making over homes for both disabled and elderly people and many others. Could I mention the hundreds and thousands, in fact, of marriages that we help put together, the thousands of youth that we've helped stay off wrong, destructive lifestyles, the thousands of children that we've helped over 42 years of being here. You know, the list is long and immeasurable, to be honest. I personally know that Destiny, who can, of course, speak for themselves, do similar things, and most would know that their Man Up program have kept more people out of prison than any other work that is done here in New Zealand. They work with people that nobody else wants to work with or can work with, but they help them. According to the government, 80% of charity work is done by faith-based organisations, churches, etc. One that also comes under furthering religion. 157 man-hours, 157 million man-hours and $6 billion, according to the government. At City Impact Church, we have hundreds of volunteers. We have 150 full-time paid staff and 50 part-time staff. We're one of the major employers on the North Shore who contribute around 6,500 hours, who are all in some way involved in helping the community. We also have around 1,500 weekly volunteers contributing around 5,000 man-hours per week. We're just one of thousands of churches doing this. So try taxing that and see what happens. And yes, there are companies like Sanitarium that are a charity pouring back all their profits into society. But can I close by saying the obvious? No charity can make a profit. No one can personally benefit. So what are they going to tax? There's no profit to tax. We have nothing to sell or to manufacture. We don't manufacture anything or sell anything. Every church on the planet, although not all get criticized for it, every church takes up a weekly or regular offerings as the only means of income. So come on, national media, leave the church alone and fix some of the bigger issues in society that glare us every day in the newspapers. And if I was to be cheeky, if you can't do that, would you please fix and get rid of the 80% of orange cones around the place, remove the glaring, blinding, dangerous, flashing roadside trucks and get rid of the bus lanes, and hey, why not fix the potholes?